Have you ever woken up to a morning that felt just a little too quiet? No bustling family, no work calls, just you and the gentle hum of silence. For many, especially as life evolves and seasons change, this quiet can initially feel like a reprieve. But then, it might start to weigh a bit heavier, to feel a little emptier. If that resonates with you, know you're absolutely not alone. This quiet shift is a natural part of life's journey, often arriving in our later years when familiar routines fade and cherished connections may have changed. Yet, this isn't a chapter of diminishment, it's an invitation. At Meaningful Living, we believe that this season, often marked by solitude, holds the profound potential to be one of the richest, most peaceful, and deeply joyful times of your life. It's about discovering how to shape your days, nurture your spirit, and connect with the world in ways that truly honor your unique wisdom and newfound freedom. Cultivating your daily rhythm. Let's start with one of the most powerful tools we have for bringing joy into everyday life, especially when you live alone, your daily rhythm. When you were younger, your schedule was probably packed with work and family obligations. People needed you. You had to be somewhere, doing something. But now, maybe no one's calling at 8 a.m. to ask where you are, and no one's waiting for dinner at 6 p.m. The days are wide open. That kind of openness can feel liberating at first, but if we're not careful, it can slowly drain our energy. When nothing is expected of us, it's easy to start expecting nothing of ourselves, and that's when the days blur, when time feels like it's slipping through your fingers. But a simple daily routine, one that you choose, one that fits your life now, can change everything. I'm not talking about scheduling every minute or being overly productive. I'm talking about having a comforting rhythm to your day. Maybe you start each morning by sitting near a sunny window with a warm cup of coffee and 5 minutes of quiet. Maybe you take a short walk after lunch or listen to music while folding laundry. Small things, repeated gently, create structure, and structure brings peace. Think of it like music. Even the most beautiful song needs a beat, a rhythm. Your life is no different. When you wake up knowing where your feet will go next, even if it's just from the bedroom to the living room, your day starts with purpose. And that purpose, even in its simplest form, reminds you, this day matters. I matter. There's also something powerful about reclaiming control. You get to decide how your time is spent now, and that's not a loss, that's a gift. One man I know, Walter from Boston, who's 77, starts his morning the same way every single day. He writes down 3 things: one task, one treat, and one thought. The task might be as simple as watering the plants. The treat could be a piece of chocolate after lunch. And the thought, sometimes it's a quote, sometimes just a feeling. But that little ritual gives his day shape. He says it helps him feel like he's still guiding the ship, even if the waters are quiet. The truth is, when you live alone, the danger isn't just boredom, it's the feeling that your days no longer matter, that no one notices if you're up or asleep, joyful or blue. But here's the truth, your days do matter, and creating a routine, no matter how simple, is one of the most powerful ways to remind yourself of that. Developing emotional self-reliance. Now let's talk about something a bit deeper. When we're alone, it's not just the quiet that challenges us, it's the emotions that come up in that quiet, the memories, the regrets, the ache of missing someone. And in those moments, we need something that's harder to find than a good habit. We need emotional self-reliance. Emotional self-reliance doesn't mean becoming cold or pretending you don't need anyone. It means learning how to be your own comfort, your own reassurance, your own safe place. You know, growing up, many of us were taught to push through pain, to be tough, to just carry on. But in this stage of life, what we need is gentleness, and it has to begin with how we treat ourselves. When you make a mistake or feel low, listen to how you speak to yourself. Are you kind or are you hard on yourself? Try saying something softer: I did my best today. It's okay to feel sad. I'm here, and that's enough. At first it might feel odd, but over time, you'll start to feel how healing that inner kindness can be. I know a woman named Martha from Austin, Texas, who's 82, who writes to herself every evening in a journal. She calls it her evening check-in. Some nights she fills a whole page, other nights it's just one quiet sentence, like, I felt lonely at dinner, but I'm proud I made a warm meal and ate at the table. No one else ever sees those words, but she says writing them makes her feel seen. And sometimes that's all we really need, to feel seen, even by our own eyes. There's also comfort in stillness. When emotions rise, grief, sadness, even fear, just pause and breathe. Let your body feel the breath come in and the breath go out. That one small act reminds your nervous system, we're okay, we're safe. It's not a fix, but it's a lifeline. We've also got to let go of the shame around loneliness. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you failed, it means you're human. And instead of running from that feeling, emotional self-reliance invites you to sit with it for a moment, then gently steer yourself back toward peace, like holding the wheel steady in a slow bend in the road. You may not always have someone else there to say, you're doing great, but you can learn to be that voice for yourself. It takes time, it takes care, but it's possible, and it's powerful. Finding joy in small sensory pleasures. Let's take a breath here. These first ideas might seem simple on the surface, creating a routine, tending to your emotions, but beneath them is something profound, the reminder that you're not powerless. You're still the author of your own days, and even in the quiet, you have everything you need to build a life that feels good, one step at a time. When you start treating your own time with care and your own feelings with kindness, something shifts. The world may not have changed, but you have. And that gentle shift is often enough to turn emptiness into openness and solitude into something sacred. Let's keep walking together through this path of joyful independence. One of the most surprising things I've learned, both from experience and from others, is how much happiness can come from the little things, the soft details, the quiet comforts. When you're alone, joy doesn't always announce itself in big, bold ways, it whispers. And those whispers often speak through your senses. The smell of something cooking that reminds you of a holiday dinner long ago, the sound of your favorite singer drifting through the room, the way warm socks feel right out of the dryer. These may seem small, but when you're living alone, they become anchors, touch points of comfort, memory, and meaning. Your senses are your closest companions. They're always with you, and they can bring you back into the present moment in the most beautiful ways. Think about this. When you stop and really feel the steam from your morning tea on your face, or run your fingers across a smooth tablecloth that's been with you for years, you're not just passing time, you're inhabiting time. You're living in it fully. There's a man I know, Eugene from Denver, who's 83. Every afternoon, he peels a single orange and eats it slowly by the window. He says the smell reminds him of the house he grew up in, and the sweetness brings him back to summer days barefoot in the grass. He doesn't rush it. That moment isn't just a snack, it's a ritual, a connection to his past and to his present. This is what I mean by finding joy in the small sensory pleasures. They don't have to cost anything, they don't have to involve anyone else. They're yours, and they're powerful. Light a candle before you eat dinner, even if it's just you. Put on a soft sweater that makes you feel cozy and safe. Play music from your younger days and let it wash over you like a warm wave. These moments remind your body and your heart, you still matter. Touch is especially powerful, and no, you don't need someone else to feel that comfort. A warm bath, a gentle hand massage with lotion, sitting under a favorite blanket while you watch a movie. These are not luxuries, these are forms of care. They tell your nervous system, you are loved. And even if it's just by you, that's more than enough. Taste, too, is a quiet messenger of joy. Sometimes when we're alone, we stop cooking what we like, we grab whatever's easy. But food is more than fuel, it's nourishment on many levels. You deserve to prepare something that you enjoy, even if it's just toast with a little butter and jam. Sit down with it, savor it. Let it remind you that you are still here, and you're worth taking care of. When you begin noticing these sensory gifts, you'll be amazed by how much life is still happening around you and within you. You're not just existing in the quiet, you're learning to love the quiet. And that shift, it changes everything. Maintaining gentle connections with the world. Now I want to share something else, something that might surprise you, because even though we're talking about how to enjoy life on your own, that doesn't mean cutting off the world entirely. You don't have to be surrounded by people to feel connected. There's another kind of connection, quiet, indirect, that can make all the difference. Have you ever been out walking and someone gave you a smile? Or maybe you held the door for someone at the grocery store and they said thank you with real warmth in their voice. Those tiny moments matter. They remind you that you're still a part of the human circle. When you live alone, especially later in life, it's easy to feel invisible. But here's the beautiful truth. You don't need long conversations or deep friendships to feel a sense of belonging. You just need contact, small, meaningful human contact. The next time you go out, try this. Make eye contact, smile, say good morning to someone you pass on the sidewalk. You might not get a reply every time, and that's okay. What matters is what you're sending out, that little bit of warmth, that little bit of reaching out. It changes the energy of your day, and it reminds others that you're here, that we're here. There's a man named George from Seattle, who's 78, who does something truly beautiful. He leaves handwritten notes in library books. Just a few words. This story made me laugh. Hope it brings you a smile too. Or, you're not alone, keep going. He doesn't know who will read them, but he says writing those notes makes him feel part of something larger, a quiet network of encouragement stretching from one stranger to another. You can be part of that too, whether it's writing a kind review for a local bakery or dropping a card into your neighbor's mailbox on their birthday. These acts ripple. You may not hear back, you may never know their impact, but trust me, they land. And in doing them, you remind yourself that you still have something to give. Even online spaces can offer that kind of connection. You don't have to join every group or start posting daily. Just finding a small forum or leaving a thoughtful comment under a video like this one can help you feel seen and heard. That's community too. Some people I know have started volunteering in small, manageable ways. One woman reads bedtime stories to children over the phone. Another knits baby blankets for a hospital. These aren't grand public gestures, they're soft, steady contributions, and they give back far more than they take. Even just being in shared spaces like sitting in a park, browsing a bookstore, or spending time at a community garden can bring peace. You don't have to talk, you don't have to do anything. Just be. And let the presence of others gently remind you that you're not on the sidelines, you're still part of this world. You bring something special just by showing up. Your steadiness, your quiet attention, your years of lived experience, they matter, and they ripple out into the lives of others more than you might ever realize. Inviting curiosity and new learning. So whether it's the feel of a warm blanket, the sweetness of a ripe orange, or the nod of a stranger as you pass on the sidewalk, there are thousands of ways to stay connected to life, to feel joy, to feel alive, even in solitude. And isn't that what happiness really is? Not noise, not crowds, but a sense that your life, your presence, and your quiet acts of care still belong in this world and still shine. There's something quietly powerful that happens when you stop waiting for the world to knock on your door and instead start opening it from the inside. Happiness, in many ways, is less about who's around you and more about what you choose to invite into your life. And one of the most meaningful things you can invite in, especially at this stage, is curiosity. It might sound surprising, but keeping your mind curious and open is one of the strongest foundations for feeling happy and content later in life. When the hustle of raising a family is behind you, when work is no longer knocking every morning, what fills that space isn't just rest, it's the chance to grow in new directions. Mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. We've all heard the myth that as we age, the mind slows down, loses its edge. But science and real life tell a more hopeful story. Your brain is still capable of learning, forming new pathways, making new connections. And even more important than what you learn is what that learning does for your spirit. Edward is a wonderful example of this. He's 83 and spent his whole life working in finance, never once picked up a paintbrush. But one day, walking past a small art store in Savannah, Georgia, he felt something tug at him. He went in, bought a beginner watercolor set, and just started. He says he's no artist, but every time he dips his brush in water, something inside him wakes up. He's learning to see color differently, he's learning patience, and he's learning that new beginnings don't have an age limit. That's the beauty of staying curious. It reminds you that you're not done, you're not finished, you're still unfolding. You can read books you never thought you'd enjoy, cook recipes from cultures you've never visited, listen to music from decades you didn't grow up in. You can sit with a question and say, I wonder. And let that wonder carry you. This kind of learning isn't about achievement or competition. It's about inviting something new into your day. It's about keeping your mind from turning inward and small. Curiosity expands the walls of your life, and in that space, loneliness doesn't have the same power. One small practice you might try is simply keeping a question notebook. Every time you hear something you don't fully understand, or something that makes you pause, write it down. Then explore it, not with urgency, not to become an expert, just with interest. That interest becomes a thread, and before long, you'll find it's connected to something else, until you realize your life is still very much in motion. And that motion matters. It keeps your mind alive. It gives your days a rhythm that doesn't depend on errands or events. Even something as quiet as watching birds at your window can become a source of learning and joy. What do they eat? Where do they migrate? What does their song mean? Suddenly, the world feels less distant and more full again. One woman I spoke with, her name is Margaret from Phoenix, Arizona, said she started writing down childhood memories in a little spiral notebook. Not for anyone else, just for herself. As she wrote, she realized how much she'd lived through. The good, the bad, the confusing, the magical. By writing, she wasn't just recording the past, she was discovering it again with fresh eyes. And that gave her something beautiful, a deeper relationship with her own story. That's the real power of staying curious. It's not about school books or formal study. It's about the desire to still see things, to ask questions, to follow ideas, to believe that this chapter of life isn't a slow fading but a slow blooming. And when you approach your days like that, with a sense of gentle discovery, something else starts to happen. You begin to feel proud of your solitude. You stop comparing it to the noise of others' lives. You stop measuring your joy against someone else's gatherings, reunions, or busy schedules. Instead, you find yourself saying, "This quiet, it suits me. This time, I know what to do with it." You stop trying to fix the aloneness, you start learning how to live in it. And eventually, you begin to understand that aloneness is not the same as being forgotten. In fact, solitude often brings you closer to your truest self than constant company ever could. Life's quiet chapters aren't a waiting room. They're a studio, a garden, a library, a sacred space where you can create, reflect, and nourish your own soul. You've now seen how cultivating a personal rhythm, embracing emotional self-reliance, finding delight in sensory moments, fostering gentle connections, and inviting curiosity can transform solitude from emptiness into a deep sense of peace and purpose. These aren't grand gestures. They're small, deliberate acts of care and presence that ripple outward, enriching your days and affirming your value in the world. At Meaningful Living, we believe your steady wisdom and quiet attention matter more than you may ever know. They continue to shine, shaping lives in subtle and powerful ways. So here's what I want you to remember. Whether your days are spent in silence or in song, whether your mornings begin with coffee by the window or birdsong outside your door, happiness is still yours to shape. It doesn't depend on who calls, who visits, or what invitations arrive. It depends on how you treat your time, how you care for your spirit, and how gently you allow yourself to keep growing. You are not in life's waiting room. You are already in the place where things are blooming. You are in the studio, the garden, the library, the chapel, whatever image brings you peace. That's where you are, creating meaning, nurturing your soul, tending to what matters. And even in those moments when the silence feels too loud, when memories rise or ache comes unexpectedly, remember this: you have tools now. You know how to listen inward, how to speak to yourself with kindness, how to find small joys, how to reach out in quiet, thoughtful ways, and how to keep learning, even when no one else is watching. That is not loneliness. That is strength. That is resilience. And it's yours, unshakable, radiant, and real. Discover more with Meaningful Living. If you've made it this far, sitting with us through this gentle journey, we want to say something simple but true: thank you. Thank you for showing up, not just for this video but for yourself. That's not always easy, especially when the days are quiet and the world moves fast around you. But here you are, choosing to learn, to reflect, and to care for your well-being in a way that truly matters. There is something deeply dignified in that. It's not loud, it doesn't shout, but it's real. And it shapes your life in quiet, powerful ways. Let's take a moment and look back, not as a recap, but as a soft acknowledgement of what you've embraced. You've explored the power of building your own rhythm each day, of creating structure where there used to be drift. You've considered what it means to care for your emotions with gentleness and self-trust, to be your own companion and comforter when no one else is around. You've leaned into the joy that lives in small, sensory moments. A warm cup, a cozy sweater, a piece of music from decades ago that still touches your heart. You've learned that even without daily conversations or close companions nearby, you can still feel connected, through a smile, through a note, through presence. You've seen that giving to the world, however quietly, is still one of the most meaningful ways to feel alive. And most of all, you've rediscovered that your mind, your curiosity, and your spirit are still wide open to newness, to surprise, to growth. This isn't about pretending life is easy or always sweet. You've lived long enough to know it's not. But what you've also learned is that even in solitude, there is depth. Even in silence, there is music. And even when the world seems far away, there is something in you that is steady and wise and quietly shining. So wherever you are right now, maybe sitting by a lamp in your favorite chair or lying in bed with the soft light of the screen glowing in the room, remember this: you are not less because you are alone. You are not forgotten because fewer people call. You are not invisible because your days are quieter. In fact, you may be more fully yourself now than ever before, because you have space, because you have time, because you have the kind of self-awareness and calm that only come after a lifetime of learning, giving, enduring, and loving. And here's the most beautiful part: happiness is still within reach. Not the flashy kind. Not the kind that depends on plans or people or parties. But the kind that grows like a candle flame, soft, steady, warm. The kind that lives in small routines, in emotional strength, in joy that touches your senses, in connections that need no fanfare, and in a curious mind that still asks, what more is there to discover? If any part of today's message spoke to you, we hope you'll carry it into your own quiet moments. Let it walk with you as you make your tea, fold your laundry, or rest in your favorite corner of the world. Let it be a gentle reminder that you're not just getting through this chapter, you're shaping it. And there is meaning in that. There is power in that. We'd love to hear from you. What resonated most with you in today's message? Was it a story, a practical tip, or a memory that surfaced while listening? Sharing your thoughts below not only reminds you that your voice matters, but it also helps others feel less alone on their own journeys. If this message brought you comfort or insight, please take a moment to like this post, subscribe to the Meaningful Living channel for more content designed to uplift and inspire, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next conversation. Your support helps us continue to create thoughtful resources for wonderful people like you. Individuals with stories, strength, and quiet wisdom that deserves to be honored. Until next time, wherever life finds you, keep creating beauty in the ordinary, keep tending to your peace, and keep letting joy in, even if just in tiny golden drops. You've earned it. You are enough. And your life, just as it is, still holds so much light.